Okay, guys, in this episode, we are going to talk a little bit about how to import a class or import some Java files into a project, and then you guys are going to be able to work on the activity, on the proposed activity. So the first thing you got to do is that you need to take a look at where you downloaded the file, the zip file from the student lookup activity test, and you're going to extract the files. If you have a Mac, you won't need to extract them. You just need to double click on them, and then you will see a folder. It's called student lookup activity. Now you're going to get into the SRC folder, and you're going to see two Java files. Make sure that those two are the Java source files which have the code. Now back to Eclipse, you can create a new project called student lookup activity, or you can import it as we did last class. Well, the easiest way is to create a new project called student lookup activity and just drag and drop those two files into the SRC folder. Okay, it is important that they are inside the SRC folder, because otherwise you won't be able to compile them. Okay, how do you know? If you have the default package and they're inside the default package, we're not going to have a problem. So that's the easiest way to do it. The other way is just importing like the complete archive file into the workspace, and we did that last time. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is that there are two classes. Okay, what you've done through APCS Awesome is that you have the public static void main in the same class, where you have the class where the constructors and the methods, either void methods that don't return anything or methods that return something, which are getter methods. Okay, so you're going to double click. We're going to start with the student class just so you can understand how it looks like. This student class creates a student, and the student will hold, or will have a couple of attributes. Some of these attributes are score 1, score 2, and score 3. We're talking about 3 scores, a name, and we are going to have a classroom average, but we're going to do this later. So we're going to leave the classroom average there. Now it is important, and in other words, let me explain really quick what this means. Private int means that these variables or these attributes are going to be visible within the class student. Okay, if I change this private to public, anybody from another class inside this project can access each of these attributes, and we don't want that. We just want to create the object, or create the object using a constructor, and then only modifying using set or get with the methods. Okay, so the first thing is creating a constructor. As you can see, the constructor, has exactly the same name of the class. That's the first thing. And the default constructor has no parameters. And what it does is that when somebody creates a student or declares a student and initializes a student with a default constructor, then you get the JDO into name, and you get every single score is assigned a 0. Okay, so that would be the default constructor for every object of the student class. Then furthermore, we have an overriding constructor. Okay, now when we overload this constructor, we have another one where in this case there are some parameters. There's a string n and 3 integer values. Now if the person or the program creates a student object using these parameters, then the n is assigned to name, the s1 is assigned to the score 1, s2, which is the one, this formal parameter will be s2 and s3. Okay, now the student will have a name and 3 test scores. Okay, so we have two constructor methods. After the constructor methods, we have some void methods. Now remember that the word void means that it doesn't return anything. It just modifies some attributes in the of the object. Okay, so we have the set name, and this method will be used in order to change the name of any of the students that we create, and it just requires a string, and that's it. Then we have the get name, which is this is the getter method, and the getter method just returns something. So remember, we have return values, or we have return methods, and we have void methods that don't return anything. Okay, how do you know? Because we have public string, so this means that this is going to return this type of variable. And the word void means that it's not returning absolutely anything. Now they're public because they're going to be accessed from the lookup activity or the lookup class. Okay, so we have get name. Now we have another getter method, or we have a method called get score. Now this method returns an integer value. So we have it right here. We have get score 1, get score 2, get score 3. So all these are methods that can be used in return values, okay? Now none of these have parameters. The only one that has a parameter is set name, which is a string in order to modify the name. Okay, finally we have a get average method, and this get average method is kind of like getting all the scores for the student and returning the average or the GPA, okay? And the GPA score of the student using the score 1, score 2, and score 3. So this is a very simple task. Finally, we have a method that you guys have tried in APCS, awesome, and it's the toString method. When we have a class that has a toString method, it is a format in the way that I want to print out any object. So when I print out an object and I say system.out.print line, and I say the name of the object or the variable, then it will print out, it will go automatically to this toString. You don't have to put dot toString. It will go automatically to the toString and print as the format that I have right here. Now let's look very closely into this format. Then I have, it's going to show student, then the name, then it's going to leave a line, then score 1, score 2, score 3, and the average grade, which is this. Now the word this means that please apply the get average, which is a method inside the class, okay, to the object that I am using, okay? Now remember that we can use, within the same class, we can use the methods. I use the word this, or in programming, we use the word this, so we could differentiate between this and maybe if there's another object, or I'm comparing two objects in the same method, okay? The word this means this object, or this is the one that I'm applying it to. Okay, so this is the class that we are using. Now I'm going to jump into the lookup app. Now this one has the public static void main. Remember that when Java starts, it will go automatically into the static void main and start running line by line. So that's the first thing. So just in case it doesn't go to the student class, it goes automatically to the public static void main, and then it will use anything that it's told to. So you have 7 activities or 7 different tasks that you should do in this assignment, and I'm going to start with the first one. So the following exercise is for you to practice using methods from another class, okay? Calling methods with and without parameters and return values. So this is basically what we've done in Unit 2. Now the first thing, and I'm going to help you out with the first one, is declare an instance, instantiate an object from the student class. Type your code below using the default constructor. So look, as you can say, we have a default constructor. So in the student class, the default constructor is student. So very easily, I will, just like we do it in always, we have student and we have S1, which is our student, 1 equals new student, and I'm using the default constructor. So it's easy as this, okay? Just using the default constructor, I have created a new student called S1. Now S1, I can use all the methods from now on to S1, just like we did with Yertle the turtle, okay? So your next task is declare and instantiate an object from the student class using the overloading constructor. Here you have to use the other constructor that it's used, and you have to add a string and 3 scores, okay? Then display the student average using the get score 1, get score 2, and get score 3 methods available in the student class. So we need to get the average using that method. Then display, then we're going to display the student average using the getAverage method available in the student class. Okay. Then we're going to change the name of the student using the setName method available in the student class. Then we're going to print the student using system.out.println student. Okay. Here we're going to use this. Okay. Remember that right here, we're going to use either S1, S2, S3, any object that we have created. So it will go automatically to the toString method in the student class. Finally, you will create 9 more students, each with a name and 3 scores, and find the classroom grade average, only using the methods used previously. Okay. So here, something that you have to do, you need to find the average of all the class. Okay, so guys, basically that's what you need to do in this task. Wish you luck, and if you have any questions, let me know, and we will try to solve them.